You are now listening to Mighty Champions Action Figure Radio.
What's up, guys? Welcome to Mighty Champions Action Figure Radio. My name is John Sargent.
My name is Christian McGann.
Thank you very much for joining us. Welcome back. If you had listened to episode 1, we appreciate you. Episode 1 was a way bigger success than I think we thought it was going to be.
Definitely.
If you're joining us for the first time, welcome. If you're joining us for the second time, welcome. We appreciate you guys. Make sure you hit that subscribe or follow or whatever it is wherever you're listening. If you could leave us a review, we would certainly appreciate it. There's already been a handful of them, and it's very humbling. It's pretty cool.
Yes, absolutely.
You can also follow us on Instagram. We're at Mighty Champions. Whatever we're kind of talking about today is going to end up in photo form on there, and then we're also just kind of chatting toys throughout the week and reposting funny stuff or interesting stuff. You can kind of follow the action figure community that we're trying to build with us on there at Mighty Champions. All right, this week we have got a doozy for you. We are going to get into the chemical toy fair that we went to in Austin. I forget when.
Last Saturday.
In between recording last time and today.
Yeah.
And go over what we purchased there. We'll tell you guys about the news that's, at least the news that's interesting to us that has come out in the last week that might be interesting to you. And then we're introducing what will be a repeated segment called On Deck Collections, which is basically going to be what we have in our crosshairs individually that we potentially or maybe super definitely are going to collect in the future that is not already part of the collection.
Right.
I've got something loaded up that I am so itchy to start talking about.
Yeah, same here.
All right. How was your experience at the Chemical Toy Fair?
This was my second time going. The first time I think was last year at some point. I stumbled on it. Because like their marketing, I think you just have to actually just be plugged into whoever books it. And I think it's only through Facebook. And so my girlfriend and I were driving one Saturday, saw a sign, and then we're like, what is this? We go in there, and of course they're cash only, so we had to go find cash. And then anyway, long story short, I had a pretty good time there the first time, got some cool stuff, and then I had...
Well, you did that, then you texted me and said, hey, there's a toy fair right near where we work.
Yep.
And I had literally just left that area and was stuck on the highway, and I was red hot about it. I was so mad.
Yeah. And so this time we were like, all right, definitely don't want to run into that again. And I had walked away last time with I think I spent maybe like $25, but walked away with a big handful of items because people are just like, hey, take it for whatever, they're going to give you discounts, and there was a lot of pretty cool items this time around. We got there right when it opened. There was a line of
which was the right move.
It was,
because it was starting to fill up when we left.
Exactly. And pretty much a lot of the same vendors that I saw last time, a couple new ones. I gotta be honest, my takeaway for it was darn it, I wish there was more gas that I was collecting, but and I kind of was like, I don't want to leave empty handed. So I'm just going to buy some stuff because I just don't want to leave empty handed. But for me, I felt my overall takeaway was I was a little discouraged because I was like, dang, it was for my collection, which I guess is sort of semi-niche kind of, but it was just a bunch of different stuff that I think would be amazing for anybody else, a lot of vintage or He-Man, that type of, collections, which again, it's kind of before my time, but I ended up walking away with a 2001 Spider-Man Classics Venom, where he's mid-transformation.
That's the one with the kind of stretched out face.
Yeah, I never wanted that action figure when I was younger because I was like, why does Venom look like a duck? Because it looks like a beak.
You know what he looks like in Hot Shots when
He
the
looks
guy parks his jet and comes to like a sudden stop and he takes his mask off and his face is in the shape of the mask.
exactly like that. So I was like, okay, but then on closer examination, it's like you can see Eddie Brock's face in. So he's mid transformation. It's just like that's what they went with. And the lady gave it to me for $8, which is awesome.
Killer.
So I was like, that's amazing.
Sick.
I found a Namor the Submariner, like Toy Biz figure. I almost bought that when we were at Dallas Vintage Toys for $15, which I thought was pretty cheap in box. It comes with like a stand that's like a wave effect, like water effect. But that one I'm like, like I like the character. I think it's just good to have him. But so I was like, I'm not really like super concerned with getting him in box or even getting like the wave stand thing that he comes with. But I bought that for $5, which again,
Killer.
is a steal.
Yeah.
And then I bought Aragorn from Lord of the Rings, obviously Return of the King, like in his king's costume outfit for $15 in box. And so all of those things, like,
is that your first Lord of the Rings? The Lord of the Rings fans are going to come after me with pitchforks. Yeah. I know that he's a human. Is that your first Lord of the Rings biped, like not monster?
Yeah, I mean, like I had several of his toys when I was younger and don't know where any of them are at now. So my goal was to rebuy that. And then, but I have a cave troll. So really all I have right now is a cave troll and then that Aragorn. Okay. But I was like $15. That's also a Toy Biz line. And yeah, I was like, all right, this is cool. Like it's stuff that I found that I, was like, hey, this still adds to the collection. Like it still was part of what I'm collecting. So it worked out. But yeah, I mean, other than that, I think it was good. We'll talk about this probably, but like it's really interesting. Like the lighting in there is like super dim.
Man, it's in like I don't even know, just a general convention kind of hall that I could see like line dancing happening in there, yeah. Or
Freemasons meeting up.
Yeah, or like the stonemasons, or like exactly. Or they're doing like a feed the homeless kind of thing in there, yeah. Or I could see like just town hall meeting. It's just a hall.
Yeah,
and half of it, the front half, where all the best vendors, or at least the people who paid for the best spots.
Yeah,
there's no lighting in there. There was multiple times where I kind of just like, if it was a little too far away, I just couldn't see if it was hot or not, or like, if the box was in good shape or something like that. So that was a little bit of a bummer.
Mm-hmm.
But then that second part of it, when you walk down like the Arkham Asylum like hallway, that part was really well lit. Like
yeah, it was weird because it was like dim lighting and then like fluorescent lighting.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, no, there's like another hallway that you went down that was like a back room where it was like people, it was the voice actress that was back there, and then like people just selling like their own artwork or whatever.
Yeah, like the art, or like creators, I guess, or like the people who make stuff and sell it.
Yeah,
like,
you walked down there. I was like, I just saw immediately. There's nothing I need. Yeah, here.
I'm gonna see everything when I do.
I just feel awkward if I walk up to a table and I'm like, and then they're like, hey, how's it going? Like they get excited, and I'm just like, I'm not gonna buy any of this.
It is a little bit awkward because I do a lot of these things, because like my girlfriend and I will go to farmers markets. Yeah. I go to these like toy kind of things. I experience that dynamic a lot.
Mm-hmm.
And honestly, the people who don't say a word to me, I find that way more awkward. If I walk up, we went to a concert one time, or not a concert, but like a show. A friend's band was performing, and it was inside of a venue that was a converted garage, and it was also like a goth fair was happening in there at the same time, which was like interesting. I didn't walk away with anything, but there was like, it was a really interesting thing. And so there's a similar vibe. There was vendors in there selling stuff that they had made.
Yeah.
And it's more awkward when they don't say a word to you,
mm-hmm.
For me anyways. So yeah, I'm not that part of it. Like, even if I'm not interested in what they got, I still want to just walk away from it having seen everything.
Yeah. I think for me, we were walking in there at the same time, and then I got like a whiff of like, I don't need anything in here. I also don't want to go through the awkward interaction of being like, That's a cool looking spray painted picture of
Cool
Spider-Man.
macaroni picture frame.
Yeah, like it was like stuff like that. And then I'm like, all right. So, and then I just kind of left you in the lurch because you were like walking down there. I'm like, I'm going to let him travel this one by himself. And then the next after that like back room had some cool stuff. It felt like there was actually like more vintage kind of type stuff. Like it was like kind of tchotchke.
Yeah. I don't know. It was kind of, it had the kind of similar vibes as the front, but a little bit less, because there was like one table that was like wall to wall, floor to ceiling Hot Wheels, which is not my jam, so I didn't pay a lot of attention to it. But I presume if somebody was into Hot Wheels, oh my god, they found a gold mine.
Yeah, seriously.
That sort of stuff. The stuff that we're interested in, it was like medium cool.
Yeah, I was shopping for my girlfriend too, which she, again, like we talked about in the last episode, you know, she has like a wide array of like things that she likes. I ended up buying her I don't know what the name of the princess from A Bug's Life is, but there was like a little Bug's Life.
Oh, it's I have no idea.
Yeah. So I found got that for $5. So that was cool. Like there's a guy that I've seen in there a couple times who always has like really cool vintage like toys, like either like McDonald's, or I bought like one of those big Toy Biz Iron Mans from him one time. Like he's got pretty cool stuff. And then, there was just a lot of like people just selling new, like modern type collections. And like, obviously there was like some Funkos there. And,
Yeah. You mean bricks to make your house out of?
Pretty much. Yeah. But why don't you tell them what you got?
So I think we had a similar outlook on the toy fair in general. I went in...
First of all, we burned through it in like 53 minutes.
Yeah, and
that was twice all the way around.
And that's with forcing a second lap just in case.
Yeah.
I went in with kind of 50% a hit list and 50% I'm going to let it speak to me. So here's kind of what happened. The night before we did this, I watched the new Predator movie, the animated one, Killer of Killers, and I came to the conclusion, because I never put any thought in my life into my favorite movie monster. I've always been a Predator fan, like always. I've seen every movie, but I just like the movie, the film franchise, but I never really put it into the context that it is a movie monster the same way that Frankenstein and Godzilla are.
Yeah.
And thought, you know what my favorite movie monster is? Predator. And I watched that animated movie, which I highly recommend. And I was like, Predator's my favorite movie monster. And I thought, I need representation of Predator in my house. And I was like, those OG Kenner, old school, like when I was a kid, I had those. That's what I'm on the lookout for. So I kind of went in there thinking I may or may not see that. It wasn't like a top priority. And there was a lot of cool stuff in there. There was a lot of like Marvel Legends tables and stuff like that. But like, as you can see, we're filming at my house today. As you can see, my Marvel Legends collection is like 90%.
Yeah.
Probably.
Yeah.
So it's hard for me to find what I'm looking for in the wild.
Right.
It's usually pre-order status.
Yeah.
Which, by the way, since we recorded last, I pre-ordered the X-Men retro card Weapon X. I'm just going to go right up there, nestled safely under the tree. Yeah. Anyway, so I kind of didn't really find a lot of hit list stuff.
Yeah.
But I go to one guy's table and I see the Walmart exclusive.
Well, really quick, we were separated because you were still like chatting with some dude. Again, I was going through there. I've never seen Predator. I was gonna decide whether I was gonna out you or you were gonna out yourself. I'm gonna out myself. I've never seen it, but I was feeling like, or maybe Terminator. I had like Terminator vision where I'm like looking at the tables.
That's how I go through shopping.
And it's just like beep, 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 nothing. And so you were stuck talking to some dude about like a collection. I had looked at that guy's stuff. Again, it was like modern. And so I just kept going. I saw another guy he had like a lot more vintage. And I'm looking over there. And then I just turn around and you had your wallet open. Like for like not even 2 seconds.
You and I have very different approaches when it comes to this stuff.
Right.
So Yeah, I was looking for the Kenner, the like '90s Kenner Predators, but
Yeah.
what I found was the 2021 Walmart exclusive Predators. The guy had 3 of them like up on like they were displayed really nicely in his display. And he was actually, because we got there so early, he was in the act of taking things out of a tub and in the act of displaying them. And I was just had seen that movie the day before. It wasn't something I planned to do. I just got FOMO. And I go, what do you want for these Predators? And he goes, oh, $20 each.
Oh, whoa.
And I go, or he goes, 20, I go, what do you want for this Predator is what I asked him. I pointed at one of them, which was just, I forget which one, but, and he goes, $20. And I go, what about all 3 of them? And he goes, I'll do that for 35. And I go, and he goes, what about 30? And I go, done.
30 for 3 figures.
30 for 3 in box.
I didn't even ask you how much they were. I could have sworn I saw you grabbing hundreds.
$30 for all 3 in box. And the 3 that I got were the Jungle Hunter, which is the Predator from the OG movie.
Okay.
The City Hunter, which is the main antagonist from the second movie.
Okay.
And then the Berserker, which is the main antagonist from the movie Predators from 2010, which coincidentally I watched last night.
Okay.
And I'll be totally honest with you, I bought it, didn't know what it was.
Okay.
Even though I've seen the movie before,
Yeah.
It's been a minute, and then I watched the movie last night, and I just now took it out of the bag and was like, "Oh, I didn't even know what I had."
There's too much fate happening.
These figures are not great. They look cool in box.
Did you open them?
I'm not gonna open them.
Okay.
They look cool in box. I'm glad that I have them. I love the Predator logo and font and marketing. I love all of that.
Yeah.
These have more in common with the 12-inch Batman like bathtub toys than they do with any of the modern articulated stuff you see around this room. But as long as they're still in the box and I'm not going to pose them or create any kind of display or anything, I do think they're cool.
They do look cool. Like I feel like if they're like statuesque, that to me.
Yeah, and I couldn't $10 a piece. I couldn't pass on it.
That's crazy.
Like I felt like I needed to walk out of there with something.
Yeah.
The other thing that I found when we were there, something that I've been looking for, is you can see over here, I have like a little Lakers display because I'm a Lakers fan. Come at me, bro. And I have a display here where I have a plaque from their 2020 championship, and on the right of that, I have the one and only Funko Pop that I'll ever have, which is a LeBron James because of the box and the display, not because of the pop.
Right.
And then on top of that, I have the new starting lineup LeBron James, which I wish if I had one wish in this life, it would be for the starting lineup line to come back. Like, I loved it so much. They just completely and utterly botched the release. Anyways, it's asymmetrical. And I wanted something on the other side of it that was a little more vintage. And like my favorite athlete of all time is Shaquille O'Neal. Well, I found the Backboard Kings Shaquille O'Neal, which is him in a Lakers uniform mid-dunk, which is kind of like, it's almost his logo. It's almost like a 3D
like
version of his logo. So I'm going to find a way to adhere that to the wall.
Oh, sick.
So, and I got that for, again, the guy, I go, how much do you want for this? And the guy goes, $15. And I went, and he went $5. And I go, done.
That's right. Cause you were like, he was like, actually, he's taking up a lot of space. How about $5? And you're like, deal.
Yeah. So in total, I walked out of there with 4 figures and I spent $40, including the cover charge to get in.
Wow.
So your local toy fair, you don't, it's cool in the sense that you're going to find out who's got toys in your area.
Right.
You're going to get kind of a snapshot all at once of what's maybe available. You might walk out of there with absolute gold, and you might walk out of there with some stuff like I did where I was like, none of this was on my radar.
Yeah.
I just happened to see it, and I hemmed and hawed until they came down on the price. I spent virtually nothing, and I'm pretty satisfied with what I have. These Predators may or may not stay here in my collection. I do think they're cool, but they might go. I don't know. I'm not married to them.
Right.
I've got to figure out what I could do with them. Kind of thing, but in all in all, I'll be at the Chemical Toy Fair next year for sure.
Yeah.
What toy thing is up next around us?
Retromania.
Okay.
Which is kind of like for people who don't live in Austin. It's outside of Austin in Dripping Springs. and I believe it's like a Saturday and Sunday at the end of this month, like the 28th and 29th.
Yeah.
So
if you are in the area, come say what's up.
Yeah, I think I'll be going on the 29th, which is the Sunday.
Okay.
Yeah, because I have a baseball game on the day before.
Okay.
So, yeah. But it's funny. I mean, like with the toy fair, you know, I was like, man, woke up, went to the toy fair, and then left from the toy fair to go play baseball. I was like, man, what is this? My birthday? Like it was cool. I was like, oh, the thing that make this better is ice cream. You know, like as Michael Scott would say.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, it was cool. Like I said, saw some of the same vendors the last time, the same as last time. And I think with, you know, like you said, we're kind of getting an idea of who has what, who's got the most gas. And yeah, I mean, you know, it seems like there's like the scene is like relatively small in Austin, but hopefully that just continues to grow and thrive. To me, it's like the people who are just kind of grinding on multiple items. I think that's kind of where I gravitate. Like the guy that you bought the Shaq from said, I bought the Bugs Life thing from him. I got the Iron Man from him last time. I think we got like a really cool retro lunchbox kind of thing from him one time. So he kind of just is like, oh, I'm buying all these like little knick-knack kind of things that like are just like, oh, that I just love the way that looks. I'm gonna get it, and it's super cheap, which is just really cool.
Yeah, he's like a volume kind of guy.
Yeah, which I think that in my opinion is like that's how you should be.
Your approach.
Yeah, and there's a guy there, right? So like the one that had probably the most interesting.
I have a volume approach too. It's just not cost saving volume.
Yeah, see, you know, and we should dive into that because I'm a real big like I love to walk away with a handful of things, and if I get me a deal, like I'm like George Costanza, you know. But there was a guy there that had a booth that had a lot of really cool things. It was like before my time, but stuff that I could really respect, like the Rambo guns. Mm-hmm. Those were sick.
Dude, the guy that had the 80s Rambo toys. I was like, I took a picture. I'll post it on Instagram when we post the episode.
Yeah,
I haven't seen that stuff in the wild since I was a child. That was crazy.
Yeah. $400 or whatever it was.
Yeah, and he was like, "Oh, I'm willing to talk about it." And I was like, "Well, I'm not." So,
yeah, that he had some cool stuff, like some cool, like that over the top.
Yeah,
for some reason,
the 18-inch tall over the top figure, like funny. It's an arm wrestling movie. What are we talking about? Yeah, so. that was hilarious. That was the Chemical Toy Fair. Get out there and contribute to your local like toy vendors. Like they're a resource in your collection. We want to know what is your collection, so hit us up at Mighty Champions. Like I want to talk to you guys about what you're collecting and where you're finding it. Like and I might come through your town. Like we've been talking a lot about like hitting the road, and going and hitting some of these places. All right, let's dive into the current day and talk about some news in the action figure space. Let's start with the wrestling. There's not a heck of a lot of news this week, but what there is pretty juicy. Jazwares put up a pre-order date for the FTR 2-pack. And I think that's going to drop on Thursday. I think that hits Jazwares Vault. I want to say it's limited to I don't know the number, but not a heck of a lot. So FTR is interesting in my collection history. Those two guys up there at the top of that case in the red jackets, those are two of the worst figures ever made. And they're two of the first figures they are the two first figures that I purchased for myself in my entire wrestling collection. They're trash. And they haven't been updated in, I don't know, 6 years. So this 2-pack that's coming out is a massive, massive update.
Same characters?
Same characters. Yeah. But they have updated themselves. Their look, their vibe. They have like a real vintage 80s, like the boxes, VHS.
Nice.
Kind of thing. So like that, for me and for a lot of people, pretty big deal. So that's on Jazwares Vault. I also saw today that they just put up the Legends series WWE Mattel, the Click or the Curtain Call, which is Diesel, Razor Ramon, Shawn Michaels, and Hunter Hearst Helmsley from the day of the Curtain Call. They all have kind of messed up hair, and they all have the Wolfpack hands. That's a relatively big deal. So for those of you that are big historians, that's probably a must for sure. They also announced the Cody Rhodes and Pharaoh 2-pack, an Elite 2-pack, which is Cody Rhodes and his dog. His dog is kind of like a character in his. He's appeared on TV with him multiple times across multiple companies, and he's just like a stark white husky that it's like one of those dogs that you look at and you go, I like that dog right away. So it's kind of cool that they've included him in this, like, they call it the Finish Your Story 2-pack, and I commented on something, and I was like, Pharaoh is getting the rocket to the moon in my fig fed. Nice. I'm making Pharaoh world champion.
Oh, you're actually going to get that one?
No, I'm not.
Okay.
I was just commenting for clout. I already have Cody, and I'm a one-and-done guy. Gotcha. And that Cody does not surpass the AEW Supreme, which is the one you see down here.
Yeah.
So yeah, when it comes to most wrestling figures, I'm one and done. There's some guys like my top fronters I cannot resist. There's a shoebox over there that has 2 Steve Austins and 2 Bryan Danielsons in it, in addition to the one that's in the case.
Gotcha.
So there's some guys I can't resist multiple versions, but I try to stick to my rule as best I can and be in one and done, and that's the definitive in my mind version. If they put out a new figure that is the same look but an updated figure, I will replace it with that figure.
Gotcha.
So that's kind of where I'm at with that. That's pretty much all of the wrestling news. Switching over to our good friends at McFarlane Toys. If you listen to the first episode, I think we kind of turned that into a F Todd McFarlane episode.
Yeah.
They put out the announcements for pre-orders for the new Marvel statues, which still feels kind of surreal to me to see McFarlane doing Marvel stuff at the same time that they're doing DC stuff. Just feels like sacrilegious. I don't know. The statues are very cool.
They are cool.
They put out, what is it, a Punisher?
The Punisher looks sick.
The Punisher looks incredible. Another Spider-Man, and another one, a different one.
Yeah, I don't know what the other one was.
Iron Man?
Maybe something like that.
They all look really, really good. I think everybody who is interested in those or interested in toys who might be listening to this will probably agree they're incredibly overpriced.
Yeah, I was wondering if maybe we see any of those pop up at a Ross.
They feel like future Ross items.
They do. Which, if they do, I might entertain it.
Future Ross items could be a segment on this show. That they feel like a future Ross item. If they do hit a Ross, that's something I would consider for sure.
Yeah, I mean that Punisher is awesome. The Wolverine looks cool.
Yeah.
Like all of them look really good. I love the idea. Like, to me, I think we talked about it when they first dropped, which was like, why can't they just do that and then make his arms and his legs bend and his, you know what I'm saying? Like, give him joints, and then that's the perfect figure.
Why are the DC figures not these statues that move?
I don't get it.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah.
Maybe it's just easier from an art because like they're probably hollow.
They might be made of different material. Yeah. That I don't know the logistics of it, but yeah, it's pretty wacky that it's the same company doing those two things.
Yeah.
They also announced, McFarlane did, the Batman animated series, the Jonah Hex Build-A-Figure wave that is the animated series, which has the Grey Ghost, which that's cool.
I love that character.
That exists. Ra's al Ghul, which like his character design in that show is my image of that character. Sure. Killer Croc, same thing.
Awesome.
That looks just like that one on the wall right there, except big.
Yeah, that's cool.
And then classic Batman, which just looks exactly like this Combat Bell Batman behind me. They look incredible. The problem, again, I think they're overpriced because I want to say they start at $35, or at least that's what it was pre-tariffs. I don't know what it is now. And those McFarlane Batman animated series figures have the same articulation that these Kenner ones have, which is, if you're going to keep it in the box, maybe the people who collect those, maybe they just don't care about the articulation. I think that's a crime.
No, their knees bend.
Well, I mean, but like the crotch is that straight across. There's no splits to it.
Yeah.
They're not modern articulated figures. They're just not. They're not the same. That Batman that I just told you isn't the same as that Batman 89 behind you.
Yeah.
It's not the same. Like again, why don't they just use the articulation that they have available to them? It doesn't add up to me.
I'm wondering if it's because like it's not. It is like based off of this line, but it's also based off of like maybe the DC Direct version of that, which was like semi. I mean, it's the same articulation. I don't know. I mean, it could be worth looking.
I'm sure there's people out there that love it,
Yeah.
that love that line from McFarlane. I'm not one of them.
Yeah.
I'll gladly just keep on collecting the Kenner 90s.
Yeah, easy for sure.
It just that's obviously that was my wheelhouse. So
Yeah, that. Looking at those makes it way more. I'm just staring at them right now and just already getting kind of juiced up.
So, and the cool thing about these is they're toys for the sake of toys.
Yeah.
So they have nonsense blasters and zip lines and stuff that you never even saw in the show, but which it's fun because it's a toy.
Yeah, like when I look at those, they were made for like a kid to get fired up and have something to play with. Now it's
that the commercial had there was dynamism in the commercial.
Exactly, you're shooting the missile that knocks down the stack of cups.
Yeah.
But with the new stuff, and that's kind of like again another issue that I have a little bit with like modern collections. It's just like it's built for the collector, and it takes away sort of that nostalgic, because it's like now I know that they're building this simply because they're like, oh, we can eke out another like $4 because of whatever accessory.
Yeah.
Whereas like this back in the day was probably the same exact price across the board. They just happened to come with, a jetpack, scuba diving gear, whatever.
You guys might hear my dog here in the background. She's needy for attention right now. The other thing that in the superhero space that I saw that came out, pretty quiet week from Marvel.
Yeah.
I think really the only thing that really happened was the Gargantos went up for pre-order,
Yeah.
which if you're a fan of the Marvel vs. Capcom, that is a unbelievable figure.
Yeah,
we talk about reuse and repaint and using parts over again, and it's a necessary evil in toys, but sometimes it's annoying, but sometimes you understand it. Nothing about that figure is reuse.
Yeah,
that is a crazy thing to exist. And then the Thing hands for the movie, the Fantastic Four movie, they're doing the Hulk hands for the Thing. That have like lights and sounds. It's definitely a kid's toy. I just think that's really cool.
I remember when those came out, like the Hulk hands or whatever, and I'm like, so when I saw that, I was like, I can appreciate that.
Yeah,
I appreciate the fact that they're throwing back with that.
When I go into the Target toy aisle to look for other stuff and I see those, it's gonna make me smile.
Yeah,
like I just like that exists. And then the last little bit of news, I was perusing Super7's Instagram. And previously, Super7 put out a message concerning the tariffs that was kind of vague, but sort of hinted that they may go out of business. So I've been kind of operating under like, I don't know if they're going to be around. Well, today they put out an image for Tiger Force and Python Patrol from G.I. Joe, which suggests to me that those are probably going to continue the Ultimates, which means that they're not going out of business, which is fantastic news.
Wow.
Personally, I think that their G.I. Joe Ultimates kind of suck.
Well, now they're going back out of business.
I was over the moon excited about a Real American Hero Ultimate line.
Yeah.
And then when I got my hands on some, like Duke's head broke when I took it out of the box.
Well, I think you had talked about it in one of your previous videos on YouTube a while back, where Walmart had them for $54, and to me it was like that's so crazy, right? Like $54 for that is wild, when it's like you get almost better articulation, better weapons, more weapons. With Hasbro,
they're selling you the look, the marketing, they're nostalgia baiting,
right? People
like me who grew up in the 80s and are obsessed with Real American Hero, the box. Nobody does packaging better than Super7. No toy company touches Super7 when it comes to packaging. And that's what they were shooting for, and it may have bit them in the ass the same way that those starting lineup figures. You just start at too high of a price point, it's real hard to come back from that.
Yeah.
But I want them to learn and grow and recover and get better, and I want them to put out something that I want to collect. And we talked about last week, G.I. Joe is like the thing that is on the chopping block for me.
Yeah.
But it's also, that door swings both ways. It could turn into a swell that I collect really heavy also.
So I'm wondering what the price point will be. Do they change that at all?
Yeah.
Because like if you make it too expensive because you need that money to pay, for everything. But then if nobody wants to buy it, then it's
a good question.
You know,
would the price have come down if it weren't for the tariffs? And now will it stay the same because that's like almost like they dropped it and brought it back up and it averages out to the same? That'll be interesting to keep an eye on.
Yeah.
So for you G.I. Joe folks, definitely like stay tuned to that. And we'll see what happens with it. But I want Super 7 to succeed because they often just hit home runs. They also strike out. They're not consistent, but they're capable of just the best stuff in the world.
That's your Turtles line.
My Turtles are Super 7. Hit and miss. Like super hit and miss. Like the Turtles themselves, which like is the OG cartoon versions of the Ultimates. I love the Turtles. Love the Turtles. Casey Jones, like really, really, really good. Splinter and Shredder, kind of crap. Like Splinter is a shelf killer. I had to take my riser down because Splinter kept jumping off of it and killing everything on this shelf, and I was getting pretty tired of picking.
Oh, John, the toys are alive. That's actually what's happening.
I got real tired of picking everything that's on this shelf up off the ground like once a week.
Yeah, so, I remember coming in here and it was just like a bunch of dead turtles lying around.
Yeah, because I just didn't want to put them up anymore. Yeah. So I had to switch some things around as far as like shelving goes. Because of that Splinter, he is not engineered to stand up. It's like that's got to be day one stuff.
Yeah,
in my opinion.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's the news that's fit to print. And now the main event,
the moment that we have been waiting for.
Christian and I work together.
Yeah,
and it has been such a grind since last time we recorded to not talk about what we're going to end up talking about right now.
Yeah, we wanted to save it. We're like, save it for the podcast. But the whole time we're just scratching like just junkies, like scratching the arms. Like, man, I gotta tell you about this, man.
Okay, so you had requested that you wanted me to start things off with on deck collections.
Yeah, well, we talked like kind of give it a little bit of insight before we get into that. We talked about like different segments that we can do. And we're like, hey, let's just talk about what's next.
Yeah.
Right. And so that was the whole idea. We came up with on deck, kind of a baseball reference, but it was like, okay, what are these other things? Because we have we talked in detail about our last collections and, what we're looking for. And it's like very specific, but then it's like, okay, but when those end, or if you run into it, or when you decide to do it, what's next? And we have I think I have probably a list of 13 different lines.
It's up to 13? It was 11 2 days ago.
Yeah, well, it was like something else that popped up. And then I have honorable mentions that I'm like, in passing or whatever, or maybe I just kind of stand there with my hat off and just like salute and just be like, thank you for your service for when I was younger, but I'll no longer need it now.
Yeah. Yeah, so I don't know about y'all, but my collection is really fluid. Nothing you see in here, I don't even know how many items are in here. 2,000, a few hundred. I don't know. Nothing. I'm not married to a single object in here. Anything could leave here because something else I want to buy, or I need money, or a new thing gets announced, like the Mattel DC line, and I dive into that with both feet, and that means that I need money and space, and something else can leave. Again, that door swings both ways. At any point, something new can make its way in. So that's what an on-deck collection is. In this case, I don't need to cut anything. There's a space carved out for it right there where this Rambo poster is. I can move that Rambo poster, and then I've got wall space because what I'm going to collect, and I'm going to explain.
Oh, that's where you plan to put it.
That's where I plan to put it, and it's going to be on card. So let me back up a little bit. I kind of touched on last week. I watched that Predator movie. I got really boned up about the idea of the Predator being represented in my collection in some way, shape, or form. My thought process went to the 90s Kenner figures, and I had a repressed memory that came back to me that if we weren't doing this the magic of this podcast, if we hadn't done this podcast, I never would have had this memory come back. I had a Kenner Predator figure and a Toy Biz, not the one that you collect, but the previous line Toy Biz X-Men Wolverine, like Hall of Fame toy. If we ever do a Hall of Fame, that might be the first thing that goes into it. Wow. That Wolverine with me on a camping trip to the Russian River in California. We stayed there overnight. I played with these toys in the sand on the bank of this river, and I buried them, and I left them there.
Oh my God. Oh my God.
And when that memory came back to me at 41 years old this week, I shed
going back to get them.
I shed a single tear.
Holy moly.
I couldn't believe, because I was a destructive kid. I don't have any of my childhood toys because I destroyed them.
Destroyed them, yeah.
I destroyed all of them because that was playing to me. I was devastated. And I thought to myself, well, clearly I have a nostalgic affinity for that Kenner Predator line. So I started doing a deep dive into the Kenner Predator line. And when I did that, I'm looking it up, and it was murky and confusing because then it crosses over with the Alien Kenner line.
Okay.
Then you have Alien versus Predator. Prior to the movies and all that, it's in reference to the comic books or just the concept of these two things existing in the same place, which has always been referenced in the movies.
Yeah.
And then I'm like, man, I don't really care about that. I don't need, I love Alien, but I prefer them separate, if I'm being totally honest. And I'm looking at, I'm like, I can't differentiate where this line starts and ends and where it crosses over and whether that's the same line. And I'm in my psycho brain, that stuff matters.
Mm-hmm.
It's the same thing as the Batman animated series turning into the New Adventures of Batman and Robin. That's where I stopped caring, right?
Yeah.
Similar idea. So I was like, maybe it's not that. So I jump online.
Well, you, like, quickly, you stop caring because
it changed.
It changed, but you get older.
Yeah, and
so
I was
your
older
focus
at that point.
changes, right?
Yeah.
So it's like, I'm curious. It's like, but if the new Batman Adventures came first, you would love it because it would have. Yeah,
true.
so
very
true.
True.
It's you that changed, not the show.
You've changed, man.
Yeah.
But that was a big change, right?
It was. I love it though.
Yeah.
Again, I talked about it last week, but go ahead.
I think the stories of it are fantastic.
Yeah, they're like.
I just
way
don't
more
like the character designs.
Oh, I love it. Oh my
Yeah.
God. All right, before we start fighting.
So I kind of was out on the idea of the Kenner Predators. There's not enough there to support it as a collection. I still may purchase some here and there because I just think they're cool.
Yeah.
But a full-blown collection with a plan and rules, no.
Interesting. Okay.
So now I'm back to the only things that I'm aware of in my head that exist are the Kenner that I just explained from when I was a child,
right,
and the current day NECA Ultimates, right, which I think are great. I always go to that aisle and I grab the ones that I've never seen and I open the box and I look at them and go, wow, what an amazing figure this is. It's $35 and it comes in a box where you can't see the figure. And then I put it back and I go about my day.
Yeah, for those who don't know, the boxes look really cool and they have a door, basically.
That covers the figure,
Yeah.
but there's a little Velcro tab and you can open the door and you can see the figure. But if it was just on the wall, you're just looking at a box. Cool box.
Yeah, and if you had that box open, they're just going to take up a bunch of space if you keep them in box, for sure.
Yeah. So I was like, that's out. Because I don't want an open, loose Predator display. I'm not going to buy fake ferns and stuff that would go in a fish tank and create a Predator display. So I'm like, okay, what am I going to do here? So I go to Chad GPT, and I ask it, what is there a Predator line, like a full line of Predator, other than these two things? And it's like, bro, yeah, NECA. And I was like, no, not NECA. And it was like, yeah, NECA. And I'm like, we had a back and forth. Prior to the Ultimates, starting in 2010,
okay,
because I think rooted in the movie that I just referenced, the 2010 Predators movie, because that's the first line, there is a NECA line that is not Ultimate, that is on card with a bubble that has hundreds of Predator figures. When I tell you that this was like, the meme of John C. Reilly where he's like bewildered and there's like fireworks, that was me. I couldn't believe what I was reading. this line has hundreds and hundreds, not hundreds, it's like 120 figures that covers all of the movies from Predator, Predator 2, Alien vs. Predator, and Predators. It covers the Dark Horse comic books, which I didn't read, but the covers are still iconic to me because they were coming out when I was a kid, and that's how I knew about the concept of Alien vs. Predator, was because I knew that was happening, even though I wasn't reading it. Mm-hmm. It covers the AVP arcade game, like the arcade cabinet game, like a Capcom game, the NES games. There's a Batman comic book where Predator is a surprise appearance. It covers that. It covers the Kenner line in tribute.
Wow.
So you take the 90s Kenner 4-inch or 5-inch or whatever they are, tiny toys for the sake of toys, like we were talking about, and you blow them up to 7 inches with that day's modern.
Oh, these are 7-inch?
Yeah.
Okay.
And then somebody took that design and engineered what was a modern, articulated, detailed, like NECA level detail of the Tusk one, or of like what the ones that Kenner invented out of the thin blue air, and then the same packaging. So now I've got at my disposal hundreds of figures to choose from, where I now definitely need rules because I'm so late to the game on this. The aftermarket, they go anywhere from like $30 to $800.
Oh God.
Right? So I'm so late to the game, and the problem is the glue that holds the bubble onto the card, 15 years on, has started to wear out. So mostly what you see on eBay is it's in the bubble, but the bubble's not attached to the card.
So okay, then you can get back into this, but do you open any of these?
No.
Okay.
No, because they're not
$800.
Because they're 2010 articulation.
Oh,
they're the detail of now. Like they look incredible, but they're like you can't really put, and like I said, I don't want a display.
Yeah.
I really don't want a display. So here's the rules that I've come up with.
Tell me.
And for you guys that are listening to the show that are collectors and you haven't considered the idea of rules, we found out kind of last week some people don't really know some of the like terms that we're using. Mm-hmm. Or if you're listening to this and you're not a collector and you're like, what does that mean, rules? Like I talked about with my wrestling, I'm one and done with that. I'm one and done with my Marvel characters. Also, I'm in box for the retro cards. Like you have to have bumpers, which will save you money and save you space. Because if you're operating just shoot, ready, aim, you're going to spend too much money and you're going to run out of space.
Yeah. Although I will say, like, sometimes it's fun because it's like, if you are new to it, it's like less fun to have rules immediately, because then you just are like, you barbed wire yourself in, and it becomes
they might come to you later by osmosis, or they might become a necessity.
Right, exactly.
Eventually, you're going to have rules.
But if you're new to it, and then you just go and you just start to think like, or if you went to a toy fair and you randomly stumbled on something you had when you were younger and you just buy it, and then you see something else that you saw, like, or used to have, it's like that type of stuff. That's how I got into it. It was like, man, I just love this. I'm going to buy it, because in my mind, that was like the truest form of how I would buy things back then.
And the rules might be less strict than mine. They might have to do with the cost.
You are very strict. Yes.
They also might just be an era. Whatever your era is of that thing, it might be okay between this year and this year, because that's when I was into it, or whatever. It can be whatever you want it to be. Your rules are your rules. Here's my rules for the Predator, because there are so many figures.
Yes.
What I at least need to start with is it has to pertain to the movies.
Okay.
And really just the movies that I really like.
Yep.
I watched that Predators movie last night. I don't like it.
So you're just doing 1 and 2.
Essentially. Yeah, I do like the first Alien vs. Predator. I watched that this week too. By the way, if you guys are like cinephiles, follow me on Letterboxd, Sergeant John 13. I've actually ranked the Predator movies because I've watched them all now in the last week and a half. And I would love to have conversations with you guys about movies.
The only Predator movie I have seen is Predators.
Really?
Yes.
You're doing yourself a disservice. It isn't a bad movie.
Yeah, it's not bad.
It's not a bad movie.
Yeah.
It's good, bad. It's whatever. But So yeah, it's mostly Predator 1 and Predator 2. I will do like Scar from Alien versus Predator, but even just within those two movies, you have 4 versions of Arnold Schwarzenegger.
Oh, they have him.
Yeah.
Okay.
They had the handshake meme?
Yeah.
They have him in that red shirt.
Okay.
They have him covered in mud. They have him in his like fatigues prior to having to strip down because it's so hot. And then they have him in like the final battle where he's like bloody. Right? So I'll take all of those. I'm not going to be one and done.
Okay. All right.
In this, right? And then at the end of Predator 2, spoiler for a 40-year-old movie.
Whoa.
is the reveal the first time you realize that there is an entire society and colony of these things, because the main antagonist makes his way all the way back to his ship, and then that's where he dies. And then in 20 invisible predators reveal themselves that they've been standing there this entire time, and each one of those has a figure.
Okay.
And like I'm not even going to begin to name them all. I'll take all of those too.
Interesting.
Then you have, let's just say the Predator itself from Predator 1 or Predator 2. You have the masked version, the unmasked version, the battle damaged version, and the cloaked version.
Okay.
Like the invisible version.
Interesting.
Which is like this invisible woman right
here.
The OG Predator has those, and it also has one that's called Jungle Demon, where he's partially invisible and partially not invisible. Very similar actually to this, just in way better detail.
Yeah.
So if I only kept it to those 2 movies, you're still talking about dozens of figures. Like I actually made a list, and I think it's 25.
Okay.
Here's the bombshell that I was that I was telling you. The bombshell that I wanted to tell you was that I'm already $50 in.
Oh my God. Okay, so you've already been on eBay.
I wish I could tell you that was the case.
Okay.
I wish I could tell you that I was $100 in.
Okay.
I am $150 in.
All right, we'll keep going. What you got?
So, in the mail coming from eBay, and I found mint cards still stuck to the blister.
Okay.
No sun damage, right? Because when you're looking at older figures, you got to make sure that the bubble's not yellow, that they haven't been out in the sun.
Keep in mind, for those listening, we know that it's like we're describing a lot of things. We're going to get to a point where we film at some point, and we're going to be able to show these things. But on the Instagram, we're going to be posting pictures of what we're talking about, what we buy, all the things like that.
Yeah, for sure. So what I got was the Jungle Hunter, the Predator from the first movie, unmasked, which I think is probably everyone's mind eye of the Predator, is him standing hands out, mouth open, like ready to attack. I think when people think of the Predator, that's their image of it. Then I also got the City Hunter masked, which is the main Predator from the second movie, which he's like orange instead of green, and he's kind of like tiger striped.
Gotcha.
And he's got different weaponry. And then I got the City Hunter cloaked, which is like a clear, or not, it's not clear, but it's like white translucent version of that also. Because I wanted them, and because I was incredibly bored yesterday at work. I got left to my own devices, and I went to eBay, I did a search, I sorted it by cheapest first.
Okay.
And then on page 11...
That's how bored you were.
And
then on page 215, I finally found it.
Things started to happen for me.
Yeah.
So the collection has begun. I haven't received any of them yet. I'll definitely post pictures when I do. And I'm going to move that poster, and they're going to go on that wall right there.
Okay. Well, that's an interesting spot because the door covers it.
That door is out of the way most of the time.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool.
And I can, when I'm sitting here playing video games or whatever, I have a really clear vision.
You can see it. Yeah.
Yeah. So that is my journey into the Predator this week.
So you straight up just it has begun.
I am 2 things. I am a man of great calculation and discipline, like Batman, But once I do the calculations and I figure out the rules, I just shoot from the hip. Once the bumpers are up and I know where I have to aim, I just go crazy. Like,
yeah, yeah, which is cool because it's like, you know, you're not sitting on it. You're not sitting on the idea, and it's never going to happen. Now, the other thing is this going to be an eBay only journey, or if you find in the wild?
Anything and everywhere. It would be more fun if I find it in the wild. The likelihood that I'll find it in good condition in the wild, I think, is low.
Okay.
Like, I think it's pretty low, but obviously, yeah, that might be a cheaper way of doing it. It's something that's now on my hit list to be on the hunt for at these places for sure.
Gotcha.
What do you got? What's on deck for you?
Man, so again, build a pretty long list, and essentially what the list is what I had when I was younger. Like that's the language that I speak with collecting. And that's why, like, I don't really collect modern because, again, it's just not something that I'm like super, you know, like interested in right now because there's no nostalgia for it.
Sure.
Right. And so now I'm like going through that in my mind, right? I'm like writing out all of these different lines and then just remembering them. That's why I have so many. But the first one I decided to tackle today was Power Rangers, which I know
a lot of people are going to be feeling that.
A lot of people. Like, I think Power Rangers is sort of another universal language.
What version of the Power Rangers is your entry point?
So this is where it gets kind of like with you. We're like unlocking memories and things like that. So for me, number one, I didn't have cable when I was younger, right? Ever. My entire childhood, and I had zero cable TV. All right, so PBS was my middle name.
So you have like Los Power Banditos.
I mean, it was like, yo, Arthur's coming on at 3:30. I'm fired up. But the good thing is I did have like Kids WB, which had, you know, Batman animated series. It had Static Shock.
Okay.
So like that obviously was my love language right there. But so with Power Rangers, it was like really unique because I knew Power Rangers was a thing. I don't know where I have one memory that I'm going to share about where like Power Rangers fully came to fruition, but I had memories of Power Rangers that go beyond that. Like in one of my old house that we've like, where I like became conscious, like, and had understood that I had free will. Like, that's how young I was. Because I specifically remember dreaming, because we had a toy box, like a toy box that was full of stuffed animals. And I remember dreaming that one day I go over to the toy box, I open it up, and I'm digging in there. And the deeper that I climb or that I dig in the toy box, I'm finding toys. And I was just like, oh, it just keeps coming. So I'm opening up, I'm moving these stuffed animals away. And one of the toys that I found specifically was a Mighty Morphin blue Power Ranger. And it was like a 12-inch in my dream. I wake up the next day, I go over there, I take the lid off, I'm digging in there. And I'm digging, and I've reached the bottom.
There's no blue Power Ranger.
There's no blue Power Ranger. I'm trying to figure out how I can take the bottom because I'm thinking that it's still going to go on. And that was my first introduction into like why dreaming doesn't make sense.
And are we talking original Mighty Morphin Power Rangers?
It's original. And so I'm like, but in my mind, that's the only memory that I have of it is that I'm digging in the bottom of this toy chest. And then I wake up and then I'm like, well, what the heck? It's a scam.
BS.
Yeah. And so, but my first introduction is my mom rented Mighty Morphin Power Rangers, the movie, with Ivan Ooze or whatever.
Legendary tale.
Legendary.
Classic.
Watch it, obsessed beyond belief with it. In fact, after it was over, like, I was with two buddies at the time, and all I can remember is just like doing front flips off the couch and doing spin kicks, like doing all this stuff. And it was just like, please, somebody break in right now. I dare you. So that was my only introduction. And because we didn't have cable, I would be watching, we would have like our own, like on non-cable TV, you'd have your own version of Saturday morning cartoons, which would be like the Animaniacs or things like that, which again, still gold.
Yeah.
But there was like, Disney Channel, I only heard of it in legend. You know what I'm saying? Like, or in passing.
It was inferior, I'm telling you.
Well, like Disney Channel, Nickelodeon, stuff like that.
Nickelodeon was gas.
So whatever company owns
But
Nickelodeon.
you seen Johnny Tsunami?
I've seen that, but because I rented it from the movie gallery.
Okay.
But so with like, I think CBS or something like that. There's a partner, Paramount, I guess, whatever Paramount extension of like cable TV, Channel 6 or whatever, would have cartoons also, which would be like overflow of Nickelodeon shows.
Okay.
But ABC was like a partner of Disney, and I would see that they would have Power Rangers commercials that would be like Saturday mornings. And I'd be like, but I would never see it. I would start at like 8 a.m. or something like that, and I'd watch to 11 a.m. And then 11 a.m. would come on, and it'd be like some like animal TV show or something like that. And I'm like,
so you're just like a poor kid sitting there longing for the Power Rangers, waiting for them to happen.
Longing, and they never happen.
No wonder you're having dreams of digging for them.
but so I'm digging, you know, in trying to be as resilient as I can, of like waiting, okay, when does this happen? I'm thinking like, it's just a lie. It's lying. The TV is lying because it's not coming on. And I remember bringing it up to my dad one time, and I was like, the Power Rangers, just like, it always says like it's going to come on Saturdays, but it never comes on. And my dad, he was like, it's early in the morning. It comes on early. And he was like, yeah, I think about 5:30 a.m. And I'm thinking like, the forbidden.
The next day, you're sitting there with a cup of black coffee, smoking a cigarette.
Still awake from the night before. Yeah. No, I'm like thinking like 5:30 a.m. Like for all I know, that's not even real. You know what I'm saying? Because it's too early.
Like
it's
another 5:30.
It's the forbidden time. And so I think I got up early one morning just to see if it actually happened. And this is where my memory gets blurry. And I either did or it didn't. And I have no idea. In my brain right now, I'm looking back at it and I do see that it came on or it didn't. And that's where I'm at right now.
So where's a concrete memory where you're like, I absolutely, definitely watched the Power Rangers, like saw the Power Rangers? Just the movie?
Just the movie.
Okay.
But
why is it so strong for you?
It's so strong.
That desire.
I mean, again, I've told you this before. At the time, you know, like when you're like 8 or 9 years old or whatever age is like where this stuff is the most meaningful that it is. I had Power Rangers, Batman, X-Men. Not so much of the X-Men because I didn't have cable, so I didn't see it as much. I just watched like, you know, from a distance or whatever, where I could see it. 3 Ninjas.
You're talking about practicing karate.
That was in my bloodstream.
Yeah.
And everything was just fighting bad guys.
Yeah, for sure.
I specifically have a memory of a time where there was an altercation outside in the yard one time where this guy comes up and he tells my dad, he says, "Hey, Four Eyes, back up," or something like that. And I literally was like getting into a fighting stance. And I told my dad after he left, I was like, I was waiting for him to like go because then I was going to jump in there.
Yeah.
And I'm literally like probably like, I don't know, 5 foot maybe.
Yeah, you're all, dude, you have no idea about the pressure points I learned from 3 Ninjas.
Again, that's what I'm saying. In my mind, a 9-year-old's responsibility is to protect his family. Everything he's watching is about like defeating. Yeah. So in my brain, literally, I was like, we'd go to the store or whatever. I thought all I need is there to be a guy that's like, he stole my purse, and I'm like, don't worry, I got it. It wasn't until like I was probably like 20 that I realized like, wait a minute, I can't fight these guys. I just never thought I would lose, you know. So anyway, that was my introduction, but I have all these memories, like you were saying. So Monday, right, we just say, okay, we're going to do this deep dive into the collection, the line that we want to pursue. So then I'm like, okay, we're fired up on it. I get home, crack open a bang, I, shoot it down, and I'm locked in. So I decide, like, I know I was going to use ChatGPT to help me out, but I wanted to kind of do it on my own a little bit. And of course, like anything you type in, it just brings 2,000 results for you. And it's just like, okay, I need this to be more focused. So I'm saying like, Jarvis, I need you to pull up, but I type in and I look at sort of like where the line started. Obviously, Mighty Morphin Power Rangers, I think, aired for the first time in 93.
Yeah, that sounds about right.
I was born in 92.
Yeah.
So that wouldn't have got me. in 1995 is when the movie came out.
Right.
I would have been 3 years old or whatever.
Yeah.
So again, I'm missing these points. So somewhere along the line, I'm introduced to it, and it's, oh God, of course, like the first memory is the movie. So then I'm thinking like, okay, like that is my introduction. So the toys of Mighty Morphin Power Rangers relate to me, but I don't know where I got into them because the previous toys in the 90s like don't register that, other than the flip heads, right? Like the flip head where you flip their like their belt and it's like their normal head or their Power Ranger helmet on. Yeah. Which again, honorable mention, the flip heads. I think a lot of people will know what that is.
For sure. But that's probably a lot of people's like grail.
That's their grail. But I found one of those like in passing somewhere. A lot of my introductions to these Power Ranger toys were because either somebody had them, I had them, I don't know.
They're just around.
They were just around.
It sounds like what's going on is that those figures to you were left over from the previous generation, or like kids like a little older than you, some of them, which is what the WWF LJNs were to me.
Right.
I was born into a world where every house that I went to had a big rubber Hulk Hogan and Andre the Giant in it already.
Mm-hmm.
And so it formulated in part my love of wrestling. Like it sounds like that might have happened to you.
That's pretty much what happened. And so watching those movies, like watching Mighty Morphin Power Rangers, then watching Power Rangers in Space.
Okay.
So another one rented from.
Is that a movie or a series?
I watched a movie.
Okay.
So I think it's a movie.
I fell off after the OG G1 Power Rangers, and honestly, I was of an age where it was a secret. I couldn't be telling people I was still watching Power Rangers. I had the Green Ranger poster on my wall, but it was behind the door.
Amazing.
So that when people came over, they wouldn't know.
Yeah, what's that? Oh,
then next to it was Jean-Claude Van Damme's Hard Target poster, because that's rated R and that's cool and that's grown up, and I love Van Damme. But I was so like that's where I'm at with Power Rangers, is that the OG is the only ones I would even consider.
Even the Green Ranger for me, I remember like not like semi recently, maybe like 2017, maybe when the like god awful Power Rangers movie came out, like the remake,
one,
yeah. And no, the like newer one, not the YouTube series.
Yeah,
YouTube series is actually pretty cool. The movie.
Yeah.
And I remember like them talking about the Green Ranger, and I was like, oh yeah, I know the Green Ranger. And then I'm like, where though?
Why?
What?
Yeah, how?
He wasn't in the movie. And then I'm like, I'm diving deep, and then I'm like, but like I have such a heavy like connection to the Green Ranger. Never watched it in the show ever. So when I'm looking online trying to dive into these collections, I'm going over all of them, and I'm like, man, none of these are like ringing my bell at all. So then I'm like, well, I need you to give me a detailed outline of where the toy lines begin. And it wasn't until I started getting into like 1998 to like 2000, because that's where like consciousness would have found me.
Okay.
So then I'm like looking at them, and that's where like Power Rangers in Space almost hits harder to me than Mighty Morphins does.
Okay.
Because those are like the first toys that I think that I actually bought in box and brought them, and I'm going to post pictures of them, and I feel like they're going to ring some people's bells, especially if you're like obviously not a collector. You're going to have had those in some capacity. You're going to have seen them. But so Power Rangers in Space, there was another one called Zeo. I don't know. I never even heard of this until I looked it up, but I recognize, and if I showed you the pictures of these Power Rangers, would be like, oh, I just never knew the name of it. Yeah. For some reason, though, it clicked. And then Power Rangers Lost Galaxy. Okay. I specifically remember like this green figure. All of them are loose. Everything that I'm having in my hands when in regards to Power Rangers they're loose. So I don't know what the boxes look like. So even while I'm looking at the boxes, I recognize the figure so hard, the box does nothing for me.
Whoa.
Completely the opposite of like the Toy Biz Marvel Legends. It's the box is almost everything.
Yeah.
And then the figure is the added benefit. But the boxes are like, where is this? But as I'm like diving deeper,
there must have been some kid whose house you were going to that had these or something.
Yeah. I specifically remember finding a 2-pack of action figures of like, I think it was Lost Galaxy. It was a red one and a blue one at like a gymnastics place that I had in my pockets. Somebody left them there.
What were you doing in a gymnastics place?
Our church used to be in there. Yeah. We used to rent one like a long time ago. But I found them there, and then I put them in my pockets, and I carried around them the whole day. And I was like, I'm going to steal them. I'm taking them. And then I ended up putting them back because guilt just overran my 7-year-old.
Shall not.
Exactly. So as I'm looking on these online, and then I'm seeing these boxes, then I start just unlocking like these little like backdoor memories. Like I told you, I'm like Guy Pearce in Memento, you know. So I keep, you know, like trying to find like all these connections, and really at the end of the day, it's just like there might not be one. It might just be that I just loved those toys.
Yeah.
I just loved the way that looked. When I was younger, I had them loose. Whether I found them somewhere, I don't know. Whether if like I bought them, I don't know. So like my connection to it is so deeply ingrained that it's like, I don't know why, but I love that toy so much, and it just means something to me. So I'm gonna probably go after it.
So what is the hit list now? Like what's the parameters?
I think specifically for me, the parameter is going to be, because there's like certain figures that like don't mean anything to me, like the yellow and the pink Rangers, like even the Mighty Morphin and stuff like that. I would have never bought them when I was younger, like just because it was like, I'm not buying the girl toy. You know what I'm saying? But that was my philosophy back then. So
if you notice in this wrestling case, there's one female in there. And she literally just broke in like this year to be like, I care about her enough to put her in.
I mean, that was
just Tony Storm in black and white.
Gotcha. Oh, I see that. Yeah. I was wondering. I did see that earlier, but yeah. So you know, but like, so I definitely am going to get obviously the Mighty Morphin, but with those other more obscure lines, the Blue Ranger. Like I had a Blue Ranger toy. And I'm going to post the pictures of it, which I'm like, I think this was it.
Yeah.
That's where I'm at. So Blue Ranger in space, Power Rangers in space, the Green Ranger from Lost Galaxy.
Wait. You're going to mix up generations?
I'm chasing down memories. Like if this is the Matrix, I'm just like, okay, close your eyes. Now enter the door.
I know Kung Fu.
Yeah, exactly. So I'm looking at all of those.
Okay.
And I think that's what I'm doing. I don't think I'm going to collect the entire line of Power Rangers in space. I might.
Can I make a suggestion?
Go for it.
I'm picturing a display similar to this, like tiers, right? Like not metaphorical tiers, literal tiered risers.
Yes.
OGs in the front. Whoever came, I don't know the order. Whoever came second, the full team, not the bad guys or anything like that. Just the actual. What is there? 5. Somewhere between 4 and 6 Power Rangers, like in order of generation, one after the next, like a yearbook photo.
I know. I think that's great. Yeah. And I would be open to going after not the entire line, just the core members. Yeah. Like the villains they don't ring a bell to me at all, other than Ivan Ooze. Yeah. And the two dudes.
Ivan Ooze interchangeable with Apocalypse.
Exactly. Yeah. So I'm looking at those lines, but when it comes to the Mighty Morphin Power Rangers, like we all have that. We're all like, we owe a debt to those characters.
Dude, talk about staying power.
Yeah.
Like I think they're still running new whatever Power Ranger whatever right now.
Most likely. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, that's every generation of kids, like the Ninja Turtles, every generation of kids gets a different version.
What was interesting about looking into the toy line is Power Rangers in Space, 1998. The next one, I think it was Lost Galaxy, was like 99 into 2000. Okay. So they were like changing it by the year, which I was like, that's crazy. How do you come up with this?
Every season was different.
Every season or something. I don't know. Right. I'm still, obviously I was considering diving and like learning about the history of the evolution of how all those things went, but then I'm like, I just want to chase down the
I bet you that's the same across the board. Whichever one matters to you or two, like exactly. Nobody cares about the rest.
Yeah, exactly. And so that's right. So Lost Galaxy was 1999 into 2000, and then the Zeo, whatever it is, ZEO. They're like the ones that have the triangle.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Yeah. And then there's like a silver one.
From my point of view, because I was just got on board at the beginning, and I was only like halfway on board. Mm-hmm. Everything after that to me looks dollar store. the toys,
bit,
like those.
yeah.
That when you're describing, I'm thinking of the red one with the triangle face. That looks like a knockoff of the Power Rangers. To
Yeah,
me.
for sure.
Yeah.
So that one, it's like, while that does like ring a little bit of a bell, I'm not so tied into that because I share the same like mentality that you have, where I don't know, I saw it maybe later or something, but it still rings like a nostalgia bell for me. So when it comes to the Mighty Morphin Power Rangers, this is pre-Hasbro. So Hasbro, obviously Power Rangers probably...
It's just Bandai, right?
It's Bandai.
Yeah.
And then Hasbro, I think, took over maybe like... I did see like ChatGPT did say it was like 2010, but then like one of the collections I'm going after is like 2016. It's still Bandai.
It has gone, if I remember right, it left Bandai, went to Hasbro, came back to Bandai.
Okay, so then that's probably what it is. And now it's back to Hasbro.
Yeah.
And, you know, to be honest, I don't care for the Hasbro figures.
Okay.
They're just like, they look like the show, but they don't look like action figures to me.
Okay.
You know, like they don't, they're not like muscly, you know, like I want that because it's like an exaggerated form of the characters. Like that's not what I see in my brain. So not Hasbro. That's not where I'm going. But what I really want to do, and what I was able to find, was in 2016 to like 2018, the Bandai Legacy collections. Literally like the most like beautiful packaging. And it's funny because I've heard other like toy things talking about, or people talking about these lines, and they're like, oh man, like, yeah, those are actually really cheap now because nobody wants them. They just want Hasbro. And I'm like, thank God.
Yeah.
You know, as I'm sitting there while
the unbeaten path,
all the crowd of people walking in one direction, and me with a trench coat with my collar popped and sunglasses and a fedora, I'm walking the other way, and I'm just like, you know, so that's where I'm at, dude. Obviously we're going to show photos of these, but I'll show them to you and you're going to be like, oh, like that's perfect. There, to me, it is definitive. It's like, that's the perfect picture. Like even the boxes would probably be hard for me to want to open them, but of course I've got to.
Yeah. You're a let them breathe guy.
Yeah.
Is
Exactly.
this eBay? Is this in the wild only?
I've seen them in the wild a lot.
Okay.
So,
but now you have these unlocked memories that are making them more important to you.
These, I'm talking about the Legacy collection, I've seen in the wild. The other ones I haven't.
Okay.
So the Legacy collection, like for example, the last couple that I saw was in Misfit Toys in Houston, $25 for like a Black Ranger in box. Perfect.
Sick.
You know what I'm saying? That's right in my wheelhouse right there. So they also made, I believe they made the Power Rangers in space in the same Bandai 2016 Legacy collection, so it's more of an upgraded figure. It looks freaking awesome. So I think I might do that as well. I did look on eBay just to see like what we're looking at as far as the, like what the cost of the OG figures that I'm like talking about, like in box, what they would be. Not really that crazy. Okay. Probably like $35. Some of them, they were like $80 or whatever. And then there's some that are loose that are probably like $14.
It's not bad.
And I'm like, to be honest, I could probably pull off the loose because the box means nothing to me.
Yeah.
I don't have a memory of the box, and I kind of just want to have them there. So I might end up just being like one faithful day, because I think I found a, you know, I think it was the Lost Galaxy, like the entire line. And I think it was like 5 or 6 figures for $35 loose. And I'm like, snag that up.
Go for it.
Yep.
Very cool. Well, I'm on board. Yeah, I hope to see that come to fruition. That's going to pretty much wrap it up for today. I know we went kind of long, but like, this is what we do, man. We're the only difference between today and the rest of the time is that we're recording.
Yeah.
So, we have a passion for this stuff. You guys can follow along on Instagram at Mighty Champions. Basically, these on deck collections, like I said, mine already started. You guys can kind of follow as it grows and see these things grow with us.
Yeah.
We want to see your collections grow, so follow us on the Instagram so that we can connect. Thank you guys for listening. Hit that subscribe button. Leave us a review if you liked what we did, and we will be back next Monday. Peace.
Sounds good. See ya. Thank you for listening to Mighty Champions Action Figure Radio. Built for the hunt, born for the shelf, the battle never ends.